Hello again, friends. I'm John Ray, and welcome back to the Price and Value Journey. I'm delighted to have Bernadette Harris join us. Bernadette is the owner of the BTB advisory firm, where she has helped thousands of entrepreneurs strategize, start, and successfully transition their business from profitable to profound. I love that. Bernadette is an award-winning tax and forensic accountant and a certified fraud examiner committed to growing small businesses. She's an expert at making accounting and taxes fun and easy. That's a feat right there. And she's been featured on well-known media outlets, including ABC, CBS, and NBC, to lend her insight on entrepreneurship and fraud protection. Bernadette is a best-selling author, adjunct instructor, podcast host, and TEDx speaker, and she has more degrees than I can have time on this show to outline. But here's the thing. Bernadette is no stranger to the woes of entrepreneurship herself. Her business journey includes failures, plateaus, and larger-than-life successes, and she's here to share her story of scaling up to be the CEO of her own business, going through the travails of that effort, and then becoming an expat all at the same time. Bernadette, it's a pleasure to have you.
It is a pleasure to be here, John.
Wow, your story is bigger than this show, but we'll do our best.
Yes, we're going to get it in. We're going to get it all in.
We'll do our best. I gave a little bit of your background, but just talk about your firm and the start of your firm and how the development of that firm over the years, I guess, just the quick arc of that journey.
Yeah. So I started my firm in 2001. Mm-hmm. And I honestly started the firm. I laugh and I say that when I started my firm, it was hair and shoe money. So I was married at the time, and my spouse at the time was the primary breadwinner. And so my money was just extra at the time. So it was my hair and shoe money for,
I love that.
Yeah. But it quickly grew into more, and thankfully, because we're not married anymore. So I started doing tax preparation. I think my first year in business, I did 20 tax returns, which, So, and then I grew into working with small business owners. And so I started doing some bookkeeping and doing business tax preparation, and both sides of those businesses grew at the same time. So I grew the tax prep side, I grew the bookkeeping small business side. Then I became a forensic accountant. So you talk about those degrees, and I went back to school and I got another degree in fraud and forensics, and I became a certified fraud examiner. So then I added forensic accounting to the tax practice, the whole business practice, I guess you can say. And so we've grown to that. And it's funny how business is one of those journeys where you really don't know. It's a roller coaster that you haven't seen the tracks to. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely an accurate description of what my business has been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we fast forward 20 years roughly.
Yeah.
And you have a thriving practice with a number of employees in a variety of roles, and you're doing taxes, you're doing bookkeeping, you're doing some advisory work, and here comes the pandemic.
Yeah.
So tell us what happened.
Yeah. So the pandemic was one of those years where I think it was feast or famine, just depending on which industry you're in. Yeah. And it was definitely feast in my industry because tax preparation was very important. Mm-hmm. People needed tax returns so that they could get stimulus checks. They needed tax returns so that they could get PPP or EIDL or lots of grants and all of the different things. And a lot of business owners were scrambling, and they realized the importance of the work that we do as accountants. And so there was this great demand. Then we had, on top of the pandemic, we had tax law changes, we had tax extensions. Mm-hmm. 2 years, the tax deadline was extended. And so it was a very stressful time. And so it was one of those things where Financially, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Because my income grew in ways that it never grew in the 20 years that I've been in business. But at the same time, the stress that came along with that also grew.
Just to get a sense of the scale here. So you said you started out around 20 tax returns.
Okay.
And so how many in 2020 or
by the pandemic,
2021 did you do?
Yeah, it was probably closer to about 500.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Insane.
And of course, because you had grown not just in numbers, but in capability, you had more complex clients with more complex returns. So it's not just the number, it's the complexity, right?
Yeah. And again, we had to deal with tax law changes.
Right.
And so during that time, we had retroactive tax law changes that were happening. I remember it was March of one year and we had a retroactive tax law change. And I'm just thinking, wow. So it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. So it got to a point for you where it made you ill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was in 2021? Okay.
So March of 2021, I'm working like crazy. Literally, it was wash, rinse, and repeat. I would work, go take a shower, lay down, wake up, do it all over again. And I was having headaches. And I finally went to the doctor. I couldn't even go to the doctor. I actually had to do a telehealth visit because this was during the pandemic. Yeah, so we did a telehealth visit and I'm telling my doctor about the symptoms and he had me I had to take my blood pressure every day and keep a log. And after doing a log for a couple of weeks and sending it in, you have hypertension. So I was diagnosed with hypertension. Of course, that comes with medication and instructions to change your lifestyle, but it is March. And
the perfect time of the year for
a lifestyle change.
A tax professional to change their lifestyle. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So honestly, nothing changed. And again, we had extensions on the tax deadline and all of these things. And so nothing changed lifestyle wise. It didn't because I had all these tax returns that needed to be done and along with all the other things that I was doing in my business. And so that was March of 2021. By September, I think I was very close to a nervous breakdown. Yeah, it was. And that was probably March should have been the wake up call, but September was definitely the wake up call to say, hey, you got to do something different.
So you had employees.
But a very small team at that point, not as big. Yeah, not the team that I have today. Okay,
you had employees, but it wasn't just the size of the team. I take it. It was their capabilities and what you were doing versus what they were doing.
Right.
You were almost like a worker just alongside them, right? Yeah. Even though you were head of the firm, you were doing the same tasks and duties that they had.
Yeah, I definitely was not the CEO at that moment. So I was. And there were just two, so no one else did tax prep, just to give you reference.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had people on the team who could help with the administrative parts of tax prep, but I was the only tax accountant on the team. Yeah.
So you were doing 500 tax returns
on my own.
On your own.
Yeah.
Wow. So you got to the point where you thought you were going to have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
That was obviously the epiphany for you. But you had to make a change, and you had to do it while the business was still running.
Right.
While you still had duties, because if this happened in September, there's October deadlines, right?
Right.
So September deadlines for that matter. How did you do that?
Yeah, so this was the really hard part because, again, I knew I had to make a change. I had to make some type of adjustments. Initially, I didn't know what that change was. So I started going to therapy just to help because along with the nervousness, all the anxiety, all of this stuff that's going on, I just needed some help to deal with the mental side of it because a lot of times what we do is tied to who we are, right? And just
come on. Yeah.
Just kind of dealing with that. And that's really hard when you have to step away from what you do because then does that change who you are? So I had a lot of those things that I dealt with. So therapy was the first thing. And then also looking at lifestyle changes, like those same lifestyle changes that I should have made in March, but couldn't, or thought I couldn't. And then I had to think about what was my business going to look like if I was going to maintain this and live. And John, I have a daughter. Mm-hmm. My daughter is, she's about to be 29. Mm. And I kept thinking, like, one day my daughter's going to get married. She's going to have kids. I want to be here.
Yeah.
I want to be here when that happens. And so those were the things that just made me to change. And so I'm looking at my business, and I have been very strategically shifting the percentages of income. Right. And I know you can appreciate this, but knowing I knew what percentage of my income came from tax prep, what percentage of it came from businesses, and what percentage. And so I've been very strategic over the last 3 or 4 years to making that shift, because I knew that getting out of tax prep was the thing that I needed to do. Mm-hmm. It was just, again, I had to be strategic because this is my bread and butter and my employees. So I started gradually getting my way. So by 2021, I stopped taking new tax prep clients because I said, I'm not taking anyone new, because I knew that I was getting out. Mm-hmm. I just didn't know when and how. So I stopped taking tax prep clients. And then I thought, that's not enough, because I still have a whole.
Yeah. It was the 500 that caused the problem. Yeah. Not right. The new ones. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So being an expat was something that I always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I was that person that was watching the HGTV shows, my Mexico life, my whatever life, with all international house hunters. I was always watching those shows. Mm-hmm. But I honestly thought that becoming an expat would be something that I do closer to retirement.
Sure.
But because my business is virtual, and it has been for over a decade, I can live and work anywhere. So it became more of a reality. And by January of 2022, I said, I got to do something. So I started researching and thinking, and I had been researching a couple of countries and places, and landed on Mexico because it was far enough, but close enough. Mm. My dad is in South Florida. My mom is in Atlanta. My daughter's in the DC area. And so I wanted to be somewhere where if I needed to get to any of them at a moment's notice, it would be I could do it in a day. But I wouldn't have to fly all day to do it.
Right.
And then I looked at the exchange rate. And the dollar to peso at the time was really good. It's not as great. It's still good, but it's not as great as it was when I first moved. Mm-hmm. But when I moved, it was like 20-1. So $1 is equal to 20 pesos. Mm-hmm. And so it's nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice exchange.
Quite.
Yeah. So that was the thing. I said, if I can live somewhere where the cost of living is less, I can have a similar lifestyle that I had here in Atlanta without really downgrading. Now, who wants to downgrade after you've been working for 20 years?
Yeah, for sure.
No one. And so, yeah, that was how the expat thing factored into it, because then I thought, living somewhere where it costs less, I could start to work less. Mm-hmm. And I can gradually get out of this tax game, without cutting off my foot.
Was the expat move a way to essentially cut your cost of living so you could take less out of the business, so you could more easily offload clients that you didn't really want to serve anymore? Was that really the sequence?
Yeah, it really was, because there was a time when tax prep was 70% of my income. Mm. And yeah, that was the scary time. Mm. And I knew this was probably about 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, I have to flip this. And so over the last couple of years, I had been working to get that percentage down. So I had gotten the percentage down to about 45% of my total income was coming from tax prep, which gave me a little more comfort in saying that I'm going to cut this because it's like cutting off your arm almost, right?
Yeah.
But because I increased the other services and income and all of that, yeah. So it was risky. It was very risky because I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna get rid of this segment of my business. But yeah, living in a country where it costs me less to live allowed me, because I personally took a pay cut. I paid myself less,
Right.
so that I could make this transition.
So you took a pay cut anyway, plus the reduction in your expenses because of the move.
Yeah.
So you got to a point where you were saying to those clients, as I understand it, basically tax return only clients.
Right.
That's how you distinguished it.
Yeah.
So if a client was doing a tax return and maybe other advisory services, bookkeeping, and
they got to stay.
Your CFO services, they get to stay within the queendom, as it were, right?
Yes.
But otherwise, they were invited to find other alternatives.
Right. And that was very hard because I had clients that I had relationships with, and even though I only saw them once a year, it was something special about each of them that I knew that they had a grandkid that they were raising, or they had a beach house, or just some small thing. And so that part was really hard.
Yeah, I saw where you talked about this in a very transparent way. You said you cried.
I did.
So when you sent those letters out.
Yeah, writing the letter. It took me 2 months to write the letter.
Wow.
Because I made a decision giving you the timeline in January 2022, I said, hey, I got to do something different. February, I started researching. March, I got my visa, and I was out of here in May. So that happened quickly. And I moved and I didn't say anything. I didn't tell. It was just a handful of people who knew that I was in Mexico because of what I do, I can do it from anywhere. And so I was in Mexico. Oh, I got to get this letter out. And I literally did not send. I got to Mexico in May and I didn't send a letter until August. And I didn't let go of clients in the current tax year. So it was like, I wasn't a savage.
Yeah. So you told them midway through the calendar year that the next tax season,
you got to find somebody else.
So they had plenty of time to figure out what they needed to do.
Yeah.
Now, before we came on, you said something I thought was really important. It's not just about you. It was about what's best for the client.
Yeah.
Say more on what you were referring to there.
So, like I said, it was really hard to let go of those clients. But one of the things that I realized is that seeing a business owner once a year was really a disservice to the business owner, because it gives the business owner this perception that they have an accountant, they have a CPA, they have this person on their team. When the reality is, I'm only seeing you once a year and I'm just preparing your tax return. I'm not on your team. I am not a part of that advisory of your team. But you have that illusion that I am, which is a huge disservice to a small business owner. And a lot of those businesses that I was doing just tax only, they weren't growing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have what my other clients had, the clients that got to stay.
That really takes courage to come to that conclusion, because we all like to think that we're really good at what we do, and we are good at what we do in our respective disciplines, but it takes courage to say, we're not a good fit, not just because of you, but because of me, and I'm not able to do this. And even if the client really didn't want to hire you for that, which is on them in a way, because I'm sure you pitched some of those clients to provide those services.
And some of them did. So one of the things that happened, which kind of surprised me, so I did have a lot of tax only clients that converted over to becoming full service clients. So they're bookkeeping clients now. I probably had about 5 or 6. I think that's a lot because I didn't expect any. So some of them, either they said it wasn't in their budget and they couldn't do it, and I understand that. But I did have some that they absolutely did not want to go anywhere else, and so they made it fit. They made it work, and we were able to convert some of them to full service clients.
This move also involved bringing up the quality and the qualifications of your people, right?
Yeah.
And you had to do that remotely. How did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I had to add people too.
Yeah, you had to add people.
It was amazing. I think that the good thing that came out of the pandemic was remote work.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people got good at it. A lot of people got good at remote work. And I think that over the 20 plus years that I've been in business, I haven't always been good at hiring people and onboarding and all of that. I had to learn those things and made whole lots of mistakes. I could come back on another show and talk about that. But in hiring the right people, but I think that the pandemic just helped to prepare us all for being able to work remotely. And one of the things, John, that I said that I always wanted was I wanted to create a workplace that was like a workplace that I never had. So thought about all of the things that I hated about the places that I worked. And we're not going to have any of those things.
Let's say some of those out loud.
Yeah. I don't track PTO. They can work whenever they want to work. Just get it done by the deadlines. So all of everyone on the team has their roles, their tasks. Everything has a deadline. And as long as the deadlines are met, you could work at 2:00 in the morning. You could work at 3:00 in the afternoon. If you have a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day, I don't want to say that I don't care. That's probably not accurate, but I don't track that kind of stuff. I don't micromanage. I micromanage at all. I am totally a macromanager. And so this is what I need you to do. This is what success looks like in this task, in this role. And I just need you to do it. And I've been very fortunate to get people who are great at managing themselves and getting stuff done. So yeah, tracking PTO and those kind of things. I hate meetings. So we don't have meetings. We don't.
You don't have any team meetings?
No.
Wow.
No.
How many people do you have now? 7.
Mm-hmm.
And they're located
everywhere.
Seven different places.
Yes, multiple places, multiple time zones. And everybody has different times that they work. And again, because even I have different times that I work. I'm not an early morning person, so I don't work early. And and I don't care. I don't care what time. Everyone that I hire, I'm like, I don't care what time you work. You can work whenever you want to work. I just need you to do what you're supposed to do by the date that you're supposed to do it. And if you need to take time off, take time off. Again, as long as everything is done. And of course, like one of my team members took a week off and was on vacation. And I'm like, have fun. Yeah, I love it. I love it because I remember how much I hated those kind of things.
I know this is a hypothetical, but I can hear friends out there listening who are thinking, I need to do the same thing, but I can't move to Mexico. And that's probably a big part, or they may be speculating, that's a big part of Bernadette's revival, right?
Yeah. It's a part of it, but it is not the essential piece.
That's what I want to get to.
Yeah.
You didn't have to move to Mexico to improve your health and to do what you needed to do.
No, I could have done it here. Yeah. I definitely could have. The weather is a lot better. It's margaritas, by the way. But it wasn't essential. It definitely helped. It was a catalyst. It allowed, I had to do surgery on my business. Cutting 400 clients is drastic. And so to be able to do that in the drastic way that I did it, moving to Mexico is the thing that did that. But I was on a track to do it anyway. Because I had stopped taking new clients. I was disengaging clients. And so there were clients that slowly were getting off of my roster. I had disengaged probably a good 100 clients in the last 2 years. So it was happening. It was just, that was moving to Mexico made it a little bit easier for me I accelerated the plan is what I did by doing that. So saying all that to say that you don't have to leave the country to be able to scale your business or get clearer on who it is that you want to work with and who you don't want to work with. Those aren't things that you're not required to do that in order to make that happen.
You hired a coach to help you.
Yeah.
Right. Talk about what led you to that decision.
So during the pandemic, of course, it was a lot of introspection happening during the pandemic for all of us. And so for me, it was really about what did I want my business to be and what did I want it to look like. And I did a program with the University of Richmond. They had an executive management program, which was amazing. And one of the parts of the executive management program is that we got 3 free coaching calls. And they matched us with a coach who was an employee of the university based on the way we filled out our questionnaire or whatever. So they matched me with a coach, and she and I hit it off. Like in the first meeting, it was like, oh yes, this is exactly what I need. So I did my free sessions, and then I hired her to be my coach. And I told her, I want to be the CEO of my company. I want to get out of the day-to-days of my company. And I hired her because I knew she could help me to do that. And so we set a date. And we said December of 2022, you're going to be the CEO of your company. And I said, really? This was December 2021. And I said, really? And that was our goal. And that is what we worked on for all of 2022 was getting me out of doing the things that needed to be done to truly scale. Yeah. And the timing was amazing because in December of 2023, I had to have surgery, which put me out where I was not working at all for a month.
This was your eye surgery.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And an essential need.
Yeah, I needed to see. Yeah, I needed
right.
to see. Yeah. And
so this move got tested really quickly. Unplanned test of Bernadette as CEO.
And I studied for the pop quiz. Can you imagine that?
Look at you.
Look at that. And that's exactly what happened. And my team has been amazing. So I'm still recovering. I'm back to work, but I'm only back to work part-time. So I'm not in my full capacity yet, but my team hasn't missed a beat. Like the only thing that's behind in my business is the stuff that Bernadette has to do.
Let's talk about the stuff that Bernadette has to do now. Let's talk about your role as CEO. So what are your responsibilities as CEO?
So now someone else asked me, what does your day look like? And I said, I'm an air traffic controller. Okay. So, because I'm like, I'm managing people in a virtual world, multiple time zones, and everybody's working on different things. And so a lot of it is just making sure that all the planes are in the air when they need to be in the air and when they're not. That's the biggest part of my role in running payroll.
Yeah, that always helps.
Yeah. So that is the biggest part. And that part hasn't slipped. Like that part is pretty good. But then there are still some tasks in the business that I haven't really hired someone else to take over. So the forensic work. I don't have another forensic accountant. I'm the only one. And so I have a case right now that I'm working. So I'm the only one that can do that case.
Gotcha.
And also I'm still doing all the taxes, but it's less. It's not 600, 500 or whatever taxes. So those are some of the things.
You're still doing all the tax returns.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So but that's such a small part of the business now. The people who are on the team I have bookkeepers and accountants and all of that are actually doing all of that stuff.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm still doing all the taxes.
But even though you're still doing all the taxes, I was a little bit taken aback that we were able to schedule this interview folks, I'm not in Mexico, unfortunately. in my studio here in Alpharetta on March the 15th. which is a deadline,
Yeah.
right? And I thought that was ironic that we were able to schedule today,
Yeah.
which
So,
says something, right?
It does. It does, because the way the culture of my business has changed to where we don't do rush. We don't, and I don't really have a tax season. And so the clients that we have, the clients that whose business returns weren't done before I left, I just filed extensions for, and I'll get them done when I get back. And again, I just don't have the hurry up rush culture anymore. It doesn't fit with my health, my new lifestyle, none of those things. And it doesn't really fit with the company culture. So yeah, I'm in Atlanta on March 15th, here to do this interview with you and to do some other stuff. And and when I get back to Mexico, I told them like, hey, I filed you an extension and I'll work on your turn next week when I get back.
How will your role as CEO evolve? How do you see it evolving? Do you see giving up tax returns at some point?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is my last tax season.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've already worked on, so one of the things that the accountants that I have, they all want to learn how to do taxes. And so they're going to learn how to do taxes.
There you go.
Yeah. So this is my last year doing tax returns. So yeah, the evolution of my role is to constantly hire people to do some of the things that I do. So taxes is the next thing off of my plate. And then we'll see what happens with forensic accounting. I don't do a lot of forensic stuff because I'm very selective about the cases that I take. Obviously now because of my own personal capacity. So that may be next.
Very cool. Bernadette, I have to ask a couple of questions about just Mexico, because I'm sure there's some folks that are listening to this show exclusively to hear about moving to Mexico and working from there. You mentioned why Mexico in terms of the geography and being close enough to family, but where in Mexico?
So I live in the state of Yucatan, and the city is called Mérida. So it's the capital of the Yucatan. It is in the Yucatan Peninsula. Yep. So most people will say, are you near Cancun? And it's, no, kind of.
Right.
So Cancun is also in the Yucatan Peninsula, like the southern tip of Mexico, but Cancun is about 4 hours away. So I always tell people when they say, hey, I'm coming to Cancun, that's like saying that you're coming to Charlotte and I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I live.
And why there?
So I was doing research and I really wasn't sure which city I was going to land in. And when I was doing my research, I learned that it was the safest city in Mexico. And I thought,
interesting.
Yeah. So I thought, I'm going to move to a new country by myself. I need to be in the safest city. And then I was thinking about the things that I needed in a new city. I needed good internet, airport, safety. Check.
There you go.
Yeah.
You are by yourself, no spouse, significant other. What is it about Bernadette that enables you to do that without fear and trembling?
I don't know.
Because that's a big move, right?
Yeah.
And it's a big move even if you've got a support system through a spouse and so forth, and you didn't have that. It was just you. Yeah,
just me. I have always been this person. I remember when I graduated high school, my senior year in high school, I played basketball. And I wasn't really sure about college because I wasn't sure, like, money-wise. I'm the oldest of 4, so I'm just like, I don't know if my mom's going to have the money to send me to college. And my basketball coach said, you're going to college and you're going to go to Cheney. I'd never heard of Cheney before. And he introduced me to the coach, and I had spoken to the coach on a couple of times, and we talked about getting me a scholarship. It was partial, but I had grades, so I got academic. And so, I went to high school in South Florida. Cheney is in Pennsylvania. And I went to Cheney as a 17-year-old. I had never visited the campus before. I went there. I never even met anybody in person. I've only spoken to people on the phone. So I spoke to the coach on the phone, I spoke to financial aid on the phone, and that was it. I went to Cheney, sight unseen, at 17. And it dawned on me, because when I tell people, I didn't even say this on your show, but I moved to Merida sight unseen. I'd never been there before.
Really? Wow. You are something else.
And it dawned on me, people were saying, like, you moved here sight unseen, and I've always been this person.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom is this person. Like, so I saw my mom do things that no one else, like, in the family did. Like, I grew up in South Florida. Mm-hmm. That's where and my mom moved to Atlanta. She was the first person in my family to leave. Yeah. Home is home. That's where comfort is.
Sure.
She moved to Atlanta. She was the first person to move here by herself, all of that. And several other family members have since followed. Mm-hmm. And so I saw my mom do that. And so that's what you do. When you want to do something, you just do it. You don't mm-hmm. wait around for other people.
Mm. Wow. So everything that you researched on your choice of living in Mexico, everything worked out for you.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest hurdle is the language barrier, obviously. I'm not fluent in Spanish. I'm learning.
Yeah.
And so that's been the biggest barrier or hurdle, but it hasn't been huge. If you try, they try. Mm-hmm. Google Translate is amazing and terrible at the same time.
And you both laugh about it.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah. And so they use it, I use it, and we make it work. So it hasn't been all daisies, but it hasn't been bad either. And I won't even say that they were bad things. There were just hard things. Mm-hmm. There were things that were just hard. But no, it hasn't been bad. It's been pretty amazing.
Wow. So are you trying to develop clients in Mexico, or Mexico is just where you live?
No, it's just where I lay my head. Yeah. Okay. So all of my clients are in the United States. Yeah. I don't do any work in Mexico. It's just mm-hmm. as far as with people in Mexico. And I know a lot of expats in Mexico. I don't even work with expats in Mexico.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it's just all US based clients.
Yeah. So what is your firm going to look like in 5 years? How is this continued journey going to unfold for you?
I just see more of the same. Like, I'm gradually moving out of my role. And so I'll be shedding another role soon and truly being out of the day-to-days of the business. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about it, because the team that I have, they're all people, and they all happen to be women. It just happened that way. I haven't put out an ad, which would be illegal.
Yeah, right. Right.
But I have an amazing team of women, and they're all amazing in their own way. Mm-hmm. And I remember again, I don't do meetings, and so I sent out like this email and asked them to complete this survey. Not really a survey, but mm-hmm. I just wanted to get more information and just see where they were. It's like a pulse check.
Yeah.
And one of the ladies who filled out the form, she talked about how fortunate she was to be able to work for me, because she had a baby that year, and it allowed her to enter into motherhood and still be able to work and contribute to her family. And hearing stuff like that is just, there are several people on the team who have like young children. And so I think about what it's like,
mm-hmm.
what it was like to be a young mom, and to be able to have the flexibility to be able to take care of your child and still earn an income is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's fabulous. That's got to be very satisfying.
It is.
Personally satisfying.
It is.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about getting rid of clients and downsizing and all that, but you're not downsizing overall at the firm. You're taking on new clients. And I want to give you an opportunity to talk about the types of clients that you work with today that are best fits for you.
Yeah. And so in that vein, like I've already replaced the tax prep income.
Well, look at you.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, basically.
Yeah. It happened about maybe about 13 months in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we're able to replace the income that I lost with the tax preparation. And now, again, just focusing solely on being a full service provider to a small business owner. And so the clients that we work with are service providers, people who listen to your show.
Yes.
So they're service providers. We provide them with bookkeeping, payroll support, and they also all of the clients get a monthly coaching call with me. And so in those calls, we use those calls for sometimes it's tax strategy, sometimes it's business strategy, because I'm an accountant, but I'm also an entrepreneur. And I have made a lot of mistakes and I've learned from those mistakes. And I've also witnessed a lot of mistakes. And so my clients are very fortunate to be able to learn from and get the cheat sheet on how to not do that. And again, the tax preparation. And so that's what our client looks like. And those are the services that we provide to them. So we've been positioned to be able to have a deeper relationship with our clients as opposed to being spread out all over the place.
Yeah. What a great story, Bernadette. I'm just delighted and honored you'd come in and share this with our friends out there that are listening. And I'm quite certain that there are folks that have heard this that may want to do business with you or may want to know more about you and your journey. How can they contact you?
Absolutely. So for those who are interested in the journey, I actually have an expat playlist on my YouTube channel. So just go check out the videos. Okay. And in there I share, and I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing my experiences in it. So not going to teach you how to move there, but just tell you like the stuff that I did. So my YouTube channel is Trust Bernadette, and that's also my social media handle. So you can find me on all social media platforms at Trust Bernadette. And the business website is the BTBadvisoryfirm.com.
Terrific. Bernadette Harris, the BTB advisory firm. Wow. What an entrepreneur you are. Congratulations on your journey and your success. And again, thank you for coming in to share it with us.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Hey, folks, just a quick reminder here as we close. I've got a new book out. It's called The Generosity Mindset, A Journey to Business Success by Raising Your Confidence, Value, and Prices. If you're having issues around topics like value, adopting a mindset of value, pricing your services more effectively, proposals, or other essential elements of growing your services practice, this book may be for you. You can find it where all fine books are sold, as the old saying goes, or you can go to thegenerositymindset.com to learn more. If you'd like to email me directly, feel free. john@johnray.co is my email address. So for my guest, Bernadette Harris, I'm John Ray. Thank you for joining us on the Price and Value Journey.